This is Andrew Schrum, Research Officer at CG, the Center for International Governance Innovation. We're here in Rome involved in a set of meetings and consultations in advance of next week's G8 summit in L'Aquila, Italy. This afternoon I sat down with Robert Fauver, who's a former G7, G8 sherpa for the Clinton administration and now president of Fauver Associates outside of Washington, D.C. Bob gave us his insights on what to expect from the Obama administration and its first G8 summit. You've been an insider into the G8 process, and now that you're an observer, what do you see as the key challenges for the Obama administration in this first G8 summit?
First, let me say it's a lot more fun to be an outsider than an insider, because I'm removed from all the shackles of trying to follow the company line in all of my discussions about summits. So it's great fun to be on the outside for a change. I think the Obama administration is faced with a difficult choice at the first G8 summit that he's going to, between do I want to support this institution or do I want to support the G20 institution that's coming along in October and that he will be hosting in Pittsburgh. So he has to try to figure out which of the four provide the best opportunity for accomplishing what he would like to do in both a geostrategic sense, because the G8 historically deals a lot with geostrategic issues of the day, but also in the macroeconomic side. The current G20 is limited only to finance issues, but I think he has to choose between the two, and I think it'll be one of his most difficult choices.
Kind of in that same vein, the G8 tradition has been caught between this two-level game of domestic politics and international commitments. Now, especially in the context of the economic crisis, how influential are domestic concerns in the United States affecting the G8 agenda?
I'm not sure how much they're affecting the Italian set agenda, but they're clearly affecting what he will be focused on during the discussions. Clearly, he is faced with some large domestic imbalances. He took over a country in the midst of a recession, in the midst of a financial crisis, and his first priority has been to fix the economy, to re-stimulate growth, to work on the banking system and financial market problems, but then shift quickly his focus to his three key issues. Healthcare reform, reform of the energy sector and the institution of some climate change sympathetic policies like cap and trade. And third, he wants to focus on education. So the most that he will be able to do in order to bring those into the discussions, he will try to do.
And you, for a long time, been advocating a back-to-basics approach for the G8. This year, as we have in the past few years, seen a plethora of issues jump onto the agenda, from climate to food to development to security issues. Can the G8, as an institution through the ministerials to the Leaders Summit, handle this? Or is there the risk of crowding out of the important issues?
I think there's no question that over the last 15 years, the growth of issues being covered in communiques is directly, inversely related to the quality of the decisions made by leaders. Their attention is too diverse. It's too broken apart by other issues. What they've done is turned over to their ministers the handling of a wide number of issues being theoretically discussed in the communique, but not things that the leaders themselves talk about. So clearly, we do need, as I've been arguing for some time, a movement back to basics where the G7 focuses essentially on the macroeconomic problems in the world economy that they have the power and the financial capabilities of trying to solve.
So the summit's about a week away. We're going to see at least about 30 different leaders at different times joining the summit. Do you see, what are your key predictions of this key group, or are we going to see a lot of the major financial decision making left to Pittsburgh later in the year?
I think it is unrealistic to assume that the G8 leaders in their one-day meeting will make much headway on the regulatory issues facing the world financial system. I think those will be carried over to the meeting in Pittsburgh. Clearly, the Obama administration has just tabled in front of the Congress its views on how to reorganize the regulatory framework in the United States, both in terms of the rules themselves, but also in the institutions who run those rules. I think that the odds have it that the three communiques that come out, one from the G8, one from the G8 plus 5, and one from the G8 plus 30, plus the institutions, whatever the African development focus is. I think all three of those communiques are going to be very long. I think they're going to be covering a very wide range of issues at a surface level. I don't think they're going to break new substantive ground on many issues. I think it is likely that we could make some progress on climate change because the president is a much more willing player than our most recent president has been. So maybe there'll be a way to get a little progress made on going into Copenhagen, at least directional progress. I think there might be some progress in terms of some of the development assistance questions that the G8 controls themselves. But I'm not looking for real big breakthroughs. I think the one place that you could find breakthroughs would be on the security issues. I think something in the way of a joint statement on either Iran or North Korea or Afghanistan or all three is likely to come out. And I suspect it may be part of the headline grabbers to be on the foreign policy, geostrategic issues, and not the classic economic issues.